5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, liftoff and the clock has started. Yes, sir, reading you loud and clear.
We had a Kickstarter campaign based on this space flight after we were allowed to talk about it. And we raised over $500,000 in I guess less than 36 hours. Hey, does anybody, big hard-hitting information department, what's our Kickstarter at?
580,000.
580,000, there it is.
But this one, A, is all fully...
All paid for, bought and paid for.
Does members mean regular folks
40,000
or corporations?
Or? No. 40,000 members around the world, 40,000 plus.
Range, what was approximately the range of donations?
Well, it's there was a couple big ones, but mostly it was people who just think it's cool. People who just think they want to participate in space exploration. And that's what we say about the Planetary site. If you want to do something in space, if you really want to be involved, we will set you up. I'm not an expert on buying rockets, but just intuitively to use the same engine on the upper stage you use on the first stage, seems like it would lower the cost, wouldn't it? Seems like that's a good idea, but I don't think anybody in here tried that. Did any of these missions use the same engine on the upper stage as the lower stage?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, yeah. All right, Aaron Greason, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thank you so much for all being here today. We have to start off our remarks with some thank yous. We have immense gratitude for all the work that the 45th Space Wing of the Air Force has done to make this possible, and the United Launch Alliance team. Thank you so much for welcoming us here as we celebrate the impending launch of our LightSail spacecraft tomorrow. You've all gone out of your way to make our visits possible, to use this space here today, to have some special visits tomorrow. So the Planetary Society would like to convey our gratitude for that. And all the journalists who've come from near and far to be here today to celebrate this special moment for our organization, we thank you as well. So appreciate all the emails. And also for the service people in the room, thank you for your service. It's an honor to meet you, and we're honored to be here with you today. Thanks so much. So without much ado, we're here with the Planetary Society. We are a nonprofit, citizen-backed organization. We go back to 1980. It's our 35th anniversary this year. We are co-founded by Carl Sagan, Bruce Murray, and Lou Friedman. And our mission is to empower the world's citizens to advance space science and exploration. So we're not a government group, we're a nonprofit citizen group. So it's people who make our work possible to explore space. Our CEO, Bill Nye, is here today, and he'll be answering questions that you might have. But we have other great space leaders here as well today representing the Planetary Society. We have our Chief Operating Officer, Jennifer Bond, who is a fantastic leader who can answer many questions about LightSail and our work at the Planetary Society. So I really encourage you to take some time to greet Jennifer today. We also have Kate Howells here, who came all the way from Montreal, Canada. Kate is the head of our Global Volunteer Network. So the Planetary Society is not just an American organization. Our members span the entire world. So Kate can answer questions about that. And we also have Jason Davis on site. Jason is over here, and he is our embedded reporter on the LightSail project. He's a real expert when it comes to LightSail, its history, the technical issues. He has an excellent blog that's on our website. There's a link to it. So I highly encourage you to visit with Jason as well, to read his blog, to follow the play-by-play as LightSail embarks on its journey. We're preparing for that tomorrow. So I'd like to introduce Bill Nye, our CEO.
So just bear in mind, I had Carl Sagan for one astronomy course in 1977, and it changed my life. He talked about solar sailing when I was in class in the spring of 1977. It was right before Voyager 1 took off, and he asked us what piece of music we should put on the record, what rock and roll music, and he said, how about Roll Over Beethoven by Chuck Berry? And we said, no, Mr. Sagan, really. Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry, so that's on the way out of the solar system. But because I was a graduate, the state of the art in those days was they sent you paper mail. So I joined the Planetary Society in 1980. I've been a member ever since. Turns out Professor Sagan's kids, Sasha and Sam, used to watch the Science Guy show. So I was asked to speak at his memorial service, and at that memorial service in Ithaca, New York, where Cornell is, Lou Friedman, who was the CEO, his executive director was his title, of the Planetary Society, approached me about being on the board. Now, Lou Friedman was one of the engineers. He got his PhD at MIT in orbital mechanics. He was one of the engineers on the Comet Halley mission, we used to call Halley's Comet, which was going to catch up with Comet Halley on its closest approach in 1986. That mission was canceled, and the space shuttle emerged from all that wrangling, political wrangling. But I bought Lou Friedman's textbook about solar sailing in 1985 when I was working, I was working at Sunstrand Data Control, which is now Honeywell. I was working on business jet autopilots. And I had his textbook, so when he asked me to be on the board, that to me was really a big deal. And then his boss at JPL was Bruce Murray, who was the head of the Jet Propulsion Lab during the hey days of Voyager and Viking, the two missions that landed on Mars. And so those are the three guys who started the Planetary Society: Carl Sagan, Bruce Murray, Lou Friedman. And Lou had this dream of solar sailing, and in 1997 we talked about mounting a solar sail mission. That took 8 years. We got Cosmos 1 to fly in 2005, and the word fly might be an exaggeration. It very quickly ended up in the ocean, which that's not its original intent. It was to crash it into the sea. It's in the Barents Sea, wherever that is, in the Arctic. So 10 years later, we have gotten it back together, and we are launching now on the NASA standard called, we're built a spacecraft now based on the NASA standard called CubeSat. So you guys, this just goes way back for me. We have video, I hope some of you have watched on our website, of Carl Sagan presenting a solar sail model just about exactly the same size as this one to Johnny Carson. And Johnny Carson was the host of the Tonight Show before that. It was the Tonight Show. It was on television. We had television. It was a long time ago, but you could. Was it HD? It was not HD. No. It was seriously, you guys. I'm so old. How old are you? I'm so old. I watched the first Super Bowl at the Neighbors, who had this new thing. They had color television, and the corners were cut off. The frame of the television was intended to visually hide the corners, which were not. It wasn't big enough to be a rectangle. Those were the days. So this goes way back with us. Now, the idea of the big idea is this will lower the cost of any mission where you have time. And you want to go to the moon, you want to go to Mars, you want to catch up with an asteroid, you want to do station keeping between, let's say, the Earth and the Sun at an inferior, an orbit which you normally have to go around more quickly because you're close to the Sun. You could use what's called solar pressure, the momentum of photons, to hold the thing in position while it's in orbit. I mean, you combine two forces. So it would be... we're really excited about this, and many universities use CubeSats, and now, as you may know, the Air Force uses a lot of CubeSats to do certain things in space, and so we have very close ties with people who work at the Jet Propulsion Lab, the Applied Physics Lab, Johns Hopkins, and Georgia Tech, Cal Poly, the places that make a lot of CubeSats. And the reason we have close ties is a lot of those people are members of the Planetary Society. So with that said, let's take questions. Do I call on him, Aaron, or do you? He had his hand up first.
Yes. What is your website? What is your website called?
It's your homepage, planetary.org. It's not your home. Oh, bill9.com is your homepage. Yeah, well then there's a link. Yeah, don't worry. Planetary.org, everybody's favorite. So we have we talk about our members, but then we have a tremendous number of people who participate, check out our website, hundreds of thousands of people. And now with this Kickstarter campaign, we're going wild. So we raised, based on this mission, after we were allowed to announce it, thanks to these guys, no, after we were allowed to announce it, we have got over $500,000, $580,000 in less than a week, which my understanding is a Kickstarter record. So we feel really good about that. And so we're going to use that money for the main flight, which is Light Sail B, nominally next May, but it may slip to somewhat later in the year because it's space flight and it always slips. And not tomorrow, though. We're leaving at 10:45, people. Who's here from ULA? Make sure the tanking is done properly. Don't mess that up. No leaks. Yeah, good thing I'm here. Yeah, you had a question, sir. Yeah.
Sir, being in Florida today, the local paper here, in that trade for time, lacking more speed and propulsion, I can just give an impression of how much more time would it take?
Well, to get to the moon would take a month.
Scalable, do larger space rounds.
Yeah, to get to the moon would take a month instead of a couple days, whatever you'd normally do. So if you're a university or you have other things you want to be doing between here and the moon, like monitoring Earth weather, for example, you could do that. You know, the trouble or the feature or the drawback of chemical rockets, once you're done with your burn, you're done. You know, 11 minutes and then you got to coast to wherever you're going. But with the solar sail, you get this push day and night. But wait, you're in space. There's no night. Yeah, so you get a continuous, very small push indefinitely. And then if you want to go wild, Lou Friedman, my predecessor, talks about this all the time. He talks about it in his book. Okay, what we do. Okay. We build a really big solar sail. Okay, then we put it in space, and then we go to the far side of the moon, and we set up a huge laser, and then we just beam the laser at the solar sail for 10,000 years, and it goes to Proxima Centauri. Okay. It is the only technology we know of to go to another star system. I'm not saying it wouldn't be complicated, but it is something to do, something to think about. Seriously, it is the only technology that could do that. Never run out of fuel. Well, Cosmos 1, our solar sail that we launched in 2005 that crashed, was as big as this room in aspect, its area. And but it never happened. And then Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA, launched one in 2010 that was successful. They deployed their Icarus sail. There's a thing with Japanese aerospace, they use an English acronym, English word. Okay. Anyway, it deployed and it worked fine. But it's the main part of that mission was to get an orbit around Venus, and it missed. So it's in about 0.7 AU long solar orbit. But they demonstrated solar sailing, but not with a CubeSat and not for this extremely low cost. Yes, a guy in black and hat. Oh, with a Vulcan hat, yes.
Besides mass, what are the benefits of the solar sail?
Besides mass?
Reduction of mass. Less mass that has to be sent along.
Anytime you use a CubeSat, you're using a lot less mass. But the big thing is you can go as far as you want, nominally. You can go to very distant destinations in the solar system without any fuel. And so this lowers the cost in a lot of ways. First of all, you're not going to run out of fuel. You don't have to put on all the fuel you need for the whole mission. Secondly, you don't have the tremendous expense of handling that stuff. When you got a lot of if you're a college student and you got hydrazine or some other cryogenic fuel, it just adds a lot of cost. So you can go into distant destinations and you can do it much more cheaply. So as I say, our mission at the Planetary Society is to advance space science and exploration, and that's what we're doing, and we're very confident. We have some proprietary ideas in here that we're very confident people will want to embrace. So we're very proud of it. Yes, a guy with media badge. He's got a media badge. Check him out.
why NASA compared to SpaceX?
Why NASA compared with SpaceX? What do you mean? We're getting a ride. Yeah, so this is, yeah, it's called ELENA, Educational Launch of Nanosatellites. And I guess all these people tried the expression picosatellite. They tried nanosatellite. And this is a CubeSat. And it fits in an ultrasat. And you know, I know we all love acronyms, but in fact, NASA is a word now, which I don't know if you know this actually is an acronym. The young guys, I don't know if you knew that, yeah. Really? Anyway, so we got a ride through the ELENA program. Now we had to jump through a lot of hoops. You got to do vibration testing, thermal vacuum testing, electric testing, electronic testing. So we're taking advantage of this flight to test out our systems so that next year, when we get a higher altitude orbit on a SpaceX vehicle, we'll demonstrate solar sailing big time. Does that answer your question? But it wasn't, I mean, we're playing the hand we're dealt. We're not picking one manufacturer over another. Unless, you know, somebody wants to make us a deal. Yeah. So, who's next? A woman? Did you have your hand up? Glasses woman? Yeah, did you?
Like ion propulsion. How do you think this fits in with these other networks and
Well, no, keep in mind, ion propulsion isn't fuel-free, but it has the same property of solar sailing, which instead of using a great big push for a few minutes, you use a very small push for a long time. Yeah, so that's what it has in common with it. So, to your point, very reasonable. You know, the Planetary Society is all excited. We hired the real deal people. I'm not changing the topic, we're talking about light sail. We hired the real deal people to evaluate a humans orbiting Mars mission in 2033. And you can go to Mars every 26 months, and 2033 is an especially favorable one. And my claim is not only did we come up with the architecture, which rockets you'd need, which missions, how many of each, but we really, for real, evaluated the cost. And so we could have a humans orbiting Mars mission in 2033, just keeping NASA's budget adjusted for inflation, without doing anything, not having a so-called Kennedy moment, not demanding that we do this or that for the sake of doing this or that. If NASA just stayed the course. Now, along with that, people have talked about the asteroid redirect mission, which would have featured a 50 kilowatt solar electric propulsion system. Well, for this humans orbiting Mars mission, very reasonable that you would have a 100 kilowatt solar electric propulsion system that would ferry cargo out there, put it in Mars orbit. And you know, we stand here in, where are we, Cape Canaveral? And say, oh yeah, put it in Mars orbit. Yeah, we just take solar electric propulsion, put it in Mars orbit. That is not trivial. That is a very difficult thing, but yet it is doable. And along with that, it is very reasonable. Now, these were a couple guys just talking out loud at this we had a 2-day workshop or day-and-a-half workshop. Very reasonable that you'd include in that mission architecture solar sails. But this thing, this light sail, would demonstrate solar sailing and demonstrate it at very low cost from a CubeSat package. But because we're here talking about the planetary side, I just want to emphasize our humans orbiting Mars idea is, I think, really extraordinary, because we have to just understand that people on our board are the real deal. I mean, it's John Logston, the historian, it's Scott Hubbard, the Mars czar, Heidi Hamill, the Outer Planets astronomer, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's written a book about the Space Act, and so on. So these people made sure that the budget was evaluated as well as the architecture, or what rockets you need. And that's just what I always say about the Planetary Society. With all respect to our colleagues in other organizations, the Planetary Society is not crazy. We propose, put that on stun. We propose missions that are doable, that are affordable. And the other thing about LightSail, it was paid for by members, people around the world who just think it's a great idea and want to see it happen. Over 40,000 people contributed. Yes, guy in blue, and then we'll go to guy in green.
Robbie, thank you, Sarah.
Oh, yes, yeah, we're at Naples Herald. The NH. Got the button. Yeah, lead on.
I'm just curious, on your website, on my homepage, it
Yes.
says that this is a proof of concept mission.
Yeah.
So what have you been able to do to test your concept and be confident that it's going to work?
Well, we had a big table at Cal Poly, University of California, California State University at San Luis Obispo, Polytech, California Polytechnical Institute at San Luis Obispo. Big table, about a third of the size of this room, and deployed the sails. The mechanism that deploys it, you guys, is this literally a Swiss motor. It looks like an oversized Swiss watch. It's really a cool thing. And the lubricant is just this dark art because it's very cold. And you start out with a little backlash and you lose that when it gets cold, it tightens up, and then it gets in the sunny side and it gets loose. It's a dark art. And those guys work that out. And then the booms are made, they're made at Kirtland Air Force Base with this high cobalt steel, and they're stitch welded. Guy with a binocular microscope with a laser, the way you do at home. No, it's really cool. So we tested it as best we could here in 1G, and we'll see what happens in space. And the other question is what happens in the vacuum. This thing is put together with people wearing white cloth gloves in a clean room, and you do all your best to get all the air bubbles out. Did you? Does it matter if you didn't get them out? Moo. So I like to quote Tex Johnston. I lived in Seattle, for a long time. I worked at Boeing. And if I can just throw in my favorite joke, I worked at Boeing on 747. But I was very well supervised. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, there's a folk hero in Seattle named Tex Johnston who was the test pilot on the first 707, the Dash 80. Yeah, I saw him doing that. He did a barrel roll with an airliner. Yeah, it looks like the Zapruder film. Yeah. He did a barrel roll with an airliner, and he lands, and Boeing managers express some concern. This is the company's hope, and you're rolling it around like you're still in World War II, Tex. It was 1954. He was a contemporary of Right Stuff. Yeah, Chuck Yeager. Yeah, and Tex Johnston affected that same down. I'll just fly this old plane. I'm gonna do a barrel. Anyway, Tex, what are you doing? He said, I'm selling airplanes. And then he said, one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. So there is no thermal vacuum chamber big enough to test all 4 sails at once. We're going to put this thing in space tomorrow and see what happens. Man in green with green tie.
Stan Roberts from Cal Poly.
Oh, from Cal Poly, yes. Hey, there he is.
He asked a question that I wanted to comment on. Could you tell us about what might be next after the follow-on to the next one?
You mean after Light Sail B? Well, I believe we'll get sucked in. We'll have the chance to participate with Jet Propulsion Lab in at least one of their cool ideas. They have lunar flashlight. This is where you put a solar sail in orbit around the moon and shine light into a crater to look for ice the way you do. And then who knows what's next, but we'd really like to have a light sail to go to the moon. And the dream, and this is not possible currently, the dream is to go really close to the sun and get a huge push from a lot of sunlight. But the materials right now are not up to it. This is, by the way, this is Mylar. It's a polyimide, and they call it a clay polymer. It has some alkaline in it. But there are other more sophisticated polyimides that would be a lot more heat tolerant. Also, this thing will almost certainly outgas for a while. You're going to lose some polymer to space. Yes, man in plaid.
Can you describe on a personal level what it feels like to send your own object to space?
Well, I've been through this a couple other times, but I did not have the years of investment. So let me think about this. So it is very moving. You guys, I held the test pattern, the photometric calibration target for the Opportunity rover. So do you know this feeling? In Florida, you probably don't know this feeling, but if you're ever on a high bridge, you have to imagine there are places with hills and riverbeds and stuff. Or maybe you've had the feeling. You're in a boat, and you're saying, I sure hope I don't reach into my pocket and take out my keys and throw them overboard. Do you know that feeling? Anyway, you know that if you throw the keys down, they're still in the water someplace. Like you could hire the right dive team and go get it, all right? But when you hold this thing, and then 11 months later you see a picture of it on the planet Mars, it's a little different vibe. Like, I'm never going to get that back. Like, that's gone. And so, in the same way, I handled Light Sail A a little bit, as much as they'd let me. And that will be really something when you see it on the thing, you guys, the thing that I really want is the picture. I want the picture from these cameras. I just have such a clear vision in my mind of how great it would be, the shiny sail deploying and the earth below. And it's just like, oh, so I'm very hopeful. But we must under-promise. No, it'll never happen. No,
for
no.
this mission, for Light Sail B.
Light Sail B,
We're
okay.
gonna have a great image.
Everyone, we have time for about 2 more questions because about 3
What do we
of
have to
you-
do?
Well, there are a few one-on-one interviews
Oh, okay.
that we have set up. But a couple more questions, 2 or 3 more questions, because we will be leaving at about 5 and we have a couple of other interviews.
Because I can go on and on. Yeah.
So,
Sorry, man from CBS, right?
The mechanism that does the deploy, do all the cells come out or none, or could you have 1/4?
No, all come out at once, so they're all slaved. Say again?
They all come out or none come out?
Yeah, but the trick is there's quite a bit of software that's used to, let me see. So if you have a tape measure, you have to pull to get it out. Well, can you imagine that if you had it set up, you could push it back in? So these things are pushed back in. They're called tape measure booms. Are you all familiar? They're 2 curved pieces of ribbons of metal welded along this way in a reminding of the capital letter A. Anyway, they're compressed and put in there, so their tendency is to come flying out. So you have to hold them back at first, and then you have to push them. I guess you have to push them at first, and then hold them back, and then push them again. And it was discussed. We did talk a lot about this, and we did do some testing about being able to reef the sails, to pull them in a little, let them out a little bit, but not on this one, man. They're all just like, let's put them out, let's go. But you could, choo, choo, choo. But that's just...
But you get the whole square.
You get the whole square, yeah. You guys, I watched the tests. I mean, I spent a lot of time there. I'm very confident. But NASA, NanoSail D had trouble, so I'm hopeful. Who else? Yes, man in hat. Oh, great. So successful, and the minimum would be 2 weeks, 14 days. But if nothing is done, it will deploy automatically in 28 days. And 14 days, my understanding, is a standard. You got to let the spacecraft drift apart. Is that right, Jason? Yeah. You don't want them running into each other. You're not allowed to do anything for 2 weeks, which will make me crazy, or crazier in my case. But in 4 days, were you here for this? We're going to take pictures with the onboard cameras using light that will leak in through the gaps between the solar panels to make sure the cameras are working and the telemetry is working. Yeah, who else? What else we got? Anybody? Are you raising your hand? Is this an auction? You just bought, yes, sold to you. Yes.
Well, I was just wondering if you could describe a little more, how do you actually sail?
So the greatest thing.
Is kind of going in one direction?
No, the sexy thing, I gotta say. The sexy thing is, let's say the microphone is the Earth. You have to pretend. And then I will karate chop. You are the sun. You are glowing, beautiful photons. We go edge on toward you, twist, and come back this way. Like that you can tack and get orbital energy. So if she's the moon, we'd get enough orbital energy to go out here. Right? So that's the beautiful thing. Testing those systems is not primary concern on this flight because they are that's existing hardware, that stuff, the torque rods and the momentum wheels existing. Let's not worry about that. Let's get the sails deployed and get the camera working. But that's the idea. You can tack just like a sailboat. It's really an elegant, wonderful thing. And Carl Sagan talked about this in 1976. And it really captured my imagination, I have to say. Man in black t-shirt. So there's two things, and this will almost certainly be on Light Sail B next year, the next mission, but there's torque rods. That's an old expression. They're magnetic electromagnets that twist against the Earth's magnetic field, react against the Earth's magnetic field. And then there's a momentum wheel, which in my day we would have called a gyroscope, but now you call it, no, the term is, you're really managing momentum more than spin. So I understand it. So with torque rods and a momentum wheel, you can do this. But that's Light Sail B. Let's under-deliver. Under-promise, I mean. We're under-promising. Not under-delivering. Heavens, I misspoke. Anybody else? We're winding down. This is good.
Just one time the size of the current mission.
So it's 32 square meters. Each boom is 4.7 meters. So if Jen is the bus, the sail comes out to about that wall and about to me. Yeah, about that big. It's really striking. It's quite weird. Say again? Oh yes, so at dawn and dusk, it's very reasonably able to see it. The thing that will go wrong with that, if it's karate chopping you, you won't see it. But if it's coming in right, so those first few orbits, it's expected to tumble, and we expect, just with the luck of the draw, there's way better than 50, they did an analysis, it's on the website. It's a way better than 50-50 chance that it'll have a good orientation. Is that right, Jason? Jason's the expert. He's the man. If you read his blog.
It'll depend on where you are with respect to where the sail is. But
yeah, the Earth, you have to catch up with the ground track. Yeah. You have to, it's some dumb luck.
We'll have a map on our website.
Yeah.
Planetary.org. Google map that shows real-time past predictions.
Yeah. Yes.
What's your favorite dinosaur?
So that's a good question. My favorite dinosaur, I would say, is the bald eagle. I would say that. I was born in the U.S. I'm an engineer trained in the U.S. I've traveled a little bit, and I have a lot of national pride, and our national symbol is a dinosaur, albeit an avian dinosaur, a modern dinosaur. And when I was young, birds were not really considered dinosaurs, even though Charles Darwin speculated that birds and dinosaurs were closely related because of their knees and their keel bone and all that. So, yeah, that was a great question. But the ancient dinosaur, what's my favorite ancient dinosaur? I don't know. Who doesn't like Pachycephalosaurus, where they apparently used to just bang heads? Who doesn't like a velociraptor, where you're just a worldwide butt kicker? I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? But then, wouldn't it be fun to be some enormous gigantosaurus and just sort of lumber around, kicking butt? Now, by the way, speaking of my favorite dinosaur and birds, the next Jurassic Park movie, they don't have feathers from the trailers, but apparently it has been agreed that virtually every ancient dinosaur had a lot of feathers. So you can just think that over next time you see the national symbol. Is that the last question, Doc? Is that we good? That was great. Thank you so much for coming, you guys. Thank you so much. Let's go.
Thank you so much, everyone. A few of you have one-on-one brief interviews set up with Bill, so see me about that. Please take some time to meet Jennifer Vaughn, our Chief Operating Officer, who is here from California, Kate Howells, who leads our Global Volunteer Network, and Jason Davis, who's a real light sail expert. And thanks again to the ULA and 45th Space Wing team. We really appreciate being here today. So thanks so much, Chris Calkins, Sean Wallach. We really appreciate it.